So, hi everyone. Type in the chat where you are coming in from. Would love to hear. We always have such a global group. So I'm just going to keep letting people in real quick from the waiting room and make sure I do all my little housekeeping things. So chat amongst yourselves and let me get this ready to roll. Take off the waiting room. We got a lot of people here, so that's awesome. Okay. Hello. Okay, awesome. We have Oregon, Boston, Atlanta, Denver, Dallas. Wow, lots of people in the US. We have originally from Poland, Scotland. Cool. Joy from Georgia. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Sam. You may have seen me from some of our other webinars. So I'm here today Toronto. I'm in Buffalo, actually, so really close by to Toronto. And I am here today with Tara and Christina of World Nomads, and they are going to cover something that if you've been in any of our other webinars about travel insurance, this is always like the number one question that people ask. So I am super stoked that they agreed to share their knowledge with us and a new exciting annual travel insurance, which is, like I said, something everyone wants, especially those longer term travelers. Will we be getting recordings? Someone's already asking. Yes. So it should show that there's a recording in progress, and we'll be sending that out tomorrow, and along with the slides from today. So, you can just take your notes, but you'll be able to have access to everything and watch it as many more times as you would like for all of this excellent information. But yeah, so just a quick other housekeeping. Keep yourselves on mute. There's 100 of you already and more to come. So we want to make sure that they can concentrate on their presentation. I think I muted you all forcibly or forcibly muted, but just in case. Um, and I think that is about it from my end. I want to turn it over to Tara and Christina because they have a lot to share, and I want to make sure they have enough time. Oh, one last thing. If you have any questions, just type in the chat, like in all caps, question, and then your question, because I'm going to be monitoring those and kind of keeping a running list. So then when we get to the question and answer period, we can just dive right in and not waste any time and just ask as you go. So if you don't want to forget or anything, and then I'll be asking them the questions when we get to that point. So this is a topic people always have questions on. So definitely don't hold back, and hopefully we'll be able to get to everyone's questions. I'm going to keep it right to the hour to be mindful of everyone's time. So yeah, with that speed intro out of the way, I will turn it over to Tara and Christina. Thanks so much for being here, guys.
Thank you, Sam. And hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Sarah Bakall. I'm a Senior Marketing Manager with World Nomads. And I will go ahead and share my screen. All righty. Look good? Yeah, okay. Thank you. All right, so today we're going to take you through everything you need to know about annual travel insurance. World Nomads just announced a new annual travel insurance product as of last week for US residents. So we're going to dive into that. But before we do, we're going to do a quick introduction into who World Nomads is. We'll take you through a little bit of a travel insurance 101. So a lot of you on the call might already be familiar with travel insurance. But for those of you that maybe aren't so familiar, we'll take you through when you might want to consider it, who travel insurance is built for, and any of the kind of other aspects just for background before we get into the specifics of plans. We'll take you through the new annual plan that World Nomads is offering, as well as some of the new features and future plans for the brand. And then we'll be sure to leave some time at the end for Q&A. We're already seeing some questions come through, so keep them rolling in. Alrighty, so who is World Nomads? We are a global travel insurance and lifestyle brand for adventurous and independent travelers. We've been around for 20 years. We've been providing travel insurance coverage for global travelers. At this point, we've covered more than 3 million travelers across the globe. And our products and the brand itself was designed by travelers for travelers. So we really know what kind of disruptions happen on the road and what travelers are looking for coverage for when it comes to travel insurance. We also know what concerns travelers have before they set out on their journeys. So we make sure to keep that in mind with any of the product development that we do here in-house. We're also a global community of storytellers, adventure junkies, travelers. And as a business, we are committed to not just protecting travelers with our insurance products, but really inspiring and connecting travelers from across the globe. So, what makes us unique? So, of course, we do have flexible travel insurance plans. We have a global network of underwriting partners that allows us to offer travel insurance to travelers from over 100 countries. And again, we're continually trying to expand our coverages based on what's changing in travel and what's changing in terms of what customers want. With any travel insurance that you purchase through World Nomads, we give you the opportunity to give back to local communities through micro donations with the Footprints program. So we're actually celebrating the 20th year at the end of December of the Footprints Network. But essentially, any of the projects that we have through the Footprints program are aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which help strive to end poverty, protect the planet, and shift the world into a sustainable path. So a really great way to be able to give back, and the micro donations are anywhere from $1 to $10. For anybody here that may be a content creator, a blogger, we do have an affiliate program. So you're able to earn each time you generate quotes, travel insurance quotes for World Nomads, and the opportunity to receive performance incentives. Along with that, we offer a lot of travel content, scholarship opportunities, and travel campaigns to our travelers. So, in terms of the travel content, it's anything from inspiring stories to educational content and safety content so that you're prepared to go on your journey. Scholarship opportunities range from photo, filmmaking, content creation. We actually just wrapped up a scholarship, a safari scholarship for photo and film last week. So we typically run these around 1 to 2 times a year, and then travel campaigns that offer opportunities to go on trips and get really great pricing, including not just travel pricing, but gear and partner discounts. So if there's any interest in kind of staying in tune with any of those opportunities, we'll send out information. We have a biweekly newsletter, and I think that's a really great way just to kind of stay updated regarding any of the new content, new products, and scholarship opportunities that we have. So with that, we're going to get right into Travel Insurance 101, and I will pass off to Christina. Oh, Christina, you're on mute. Oh,
Thanks for that. Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us. I am Christina Tunna, and I manage World Nomads in the Americas, as well as head up the brand and marketing team. So I've been with the business for a long time. And I have to say, insurance is a lot of things, but in its simplest form, it is peace of mind. It really does help you understand or help you feel a little bit more confident that should an event that is covered happen, that you do have that protection against that type of financial loss or financial loss that's associated with your gear, yourself, your health, your medical well-being, as well as your investment in your travel plans. So that comes by form of a claim where you get reimbursed or made whole for that loss, or through an attendance in emergency assistance situations. And our particular model, as many models are, is that you get assistance 24/7 and are able to be covered and assisted in any language anywhere in the world. Next slide, please. So some of the common questions that I see, a lot of them rolling into the comments box. So thank you for that. Hopefully we can cover some of those here. There are different types of insurance. As yourselves being avid travelers, you probably, and some of you have bought insurance in the past and different types of insurance. And I just wanted to clarify some of the vocabulary that's out there when you are shopping for your insurance. Some of the references talk about insurance as being comprehensive or bundled, and that really refers to those three main categories I talked about, right? Covering your stuff, covering yourself, covering your investment. There are some plans out there that will only cover your trip. In other words, your investment in your travels. So cancellation, either pre-departure or trip interruption when you're on trip. There are some plans out there that are only for medical or healthcare coverage. Some of those plans could be expat healthcare, whereas some of the plans could be just emergency medical. So there's distinctions there. And then there's trips that are either for multiple trips in a given year, or what's called a single trip. So you just go once, you cover that one trip, and if you go again 3 months later somewhere else, you get a single trip for that. And then there's group insurance that sometimes happens when, as it says, you're traveling with the group, but your operator or your agency puts you all in a one covered plan and you're covered together. And as I mentioned earlier, expat insurance, which is little different than travel insurance. If you're an expat, it means you're a resident somewhere else. And so the insurance that you get through an expat plan would have different parameters and guardrails as to what you're eligible for. So in terms of travel insurance or trip protection insurance, when you should buy it, we always recommend, if you're getting a plan that includes trip cancellation, pre-departure benefits, you're going to want to purchase it as soon as you know you're going and or you have made some investment in that trip. It doesn't have to be the full kit and caboodle. It could just be that you bought your flight or you booked a hotel. As soon as you put some money down, we really advise that you get insurance as close to that as possible so that you can get that coverage in place for those investments, even if you're figuring out the rest of your trip. Oh, that slide just loaded for me. Thank you. So it can cover before and during trip, as I said. There's also loss of baggage or personal effects. That's an on-trip benefit. If you have damage, if there's damage to your booked accommodation and it's considered uninhabitable, so you're booking a trip to a place that might have had a hurricane or an earthquake, and that hotel or other form of accommodation is deemed uninhabitable, that is considered damage. And then also there are some plans that have rental car coverage with certain collision damage waiver. Sickness, accident, disability, or death are aspects of what can be covered in a given plan. Not all plans are created the same. So while World Nomads and other options out there might say we're the plan for you, we actually at World Nomads take a little bit of a position because we want to make sure that anybody who's considering a plan really does read the policy wording and understands what is included and excluded so that they can decide, this might not be the plan for me. I'm more concerned about medical, so I want higher coverage. I'll go somewhere else, or I'll pick a different plan at World Nomads. So it really is up to you to decide what is the most important, because keep in mind, you're the one who is signing that contract, i.e. you're buying insurance with all the different provisions that it entails, and you have to be comfortable with entering into that contract. So it really is up to you. What you care about could be health, whereas the person sitting next to you, they care more about their investment in their travels. So you decide what's best fit for you. So with that in mind, what you want to look for in a plan is going to really hone in on the things that matter to you. So if you're concerned more about health and you're going away for a long period of time, take a special look at those health provisions and medical provisions in a given policy wording. If you're not concerned about that as much and you're more concerned about all the activities that you're going to be doing overseas, you're an avid windsurfer, or you particularly like skiing, focus on that aspect of a plan and make sure that you're also thinking about what is the fullest extent of what you're investing in your trip and then look at the trip benefits that match that. So trip cancellation or trip interruption benefits, so that you feel a level of comfort that should something go pear-shaped, that particular benefit will make you whole. If there's any kind of special conditions, so for example, some plans, if you buy them the day you leave, or if you're already overseas, there could be a waiting period for medical emergency or for medical sickness. Or there could be some exclusions around, we don't cover you above 6,000 feet, or we don't cover your scuba diving below a certain depth. So look at those special conditions that might be relevant to your case. And then also think about your on-trip emergency assistance. Is it 24/7? Is it full language? Do they take reverse charge phone calls if need be? Look at some of the exclusions around named perils, and that basically means if you're concerned about a particular event happening, take a look at what that named event might be, because it could be named specifically as that's not covered. The way I think about that is when I'm looking for parking, if I don't see a sign that says no parking, I can park there. But if there's something that's very specific about no parking, it's the same thing here with if it's specifically named, then you know that that's not something that is covered. Make sure also that when you're looking for a plan, that you're also comfortable with the price point. Some trips are budget trips, so maybe you're thinking, well, I just need the basics. But if you're really investing in something or going for a long period of time, you might want to think differently about what your actual total budget level might be. And then last but not least, think about the claims process and the expected timelines of how do I lodge a claim? What is necessary for me to lodge a claim? And those types of aspects of the consumption of the product when it comes to the claim side.
Thanks, Christina.
Next slide. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into the new annual plan that World Nomads is offering. So what is the annual plan? Well, first we have to say you spoke and we listened. We know that the annual plan has been something on top of mind for a lot of travelers, and specifically within the nomadic mat community. So it's been great to get feedback and questions. That's really helped us to shape this product, keeping in mind what's important to these travelers. So how does it work? So at a very high level, you buy an annual plan. Let's say that you have the start date set to January 1st, 2025. It provides coverage for you in terms of travel insurance coverage for an entire year. So you would have that plan active from January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025. So with our plan, it does offer limitless trips. So there's no cap to the number of trips that you take throughout the year. However, the max trip duration per trip is 45 days, meaning you could go on several weekend trips on that annual plan throughout the year. You could even go on several month-long trips or 45-day trips. But if you're planning a 90-day trip to Argentina, that would not necessarily be covered. So that is important to keep in mind depending on your trip length. So this is a really great plan for people that are taking multiple trips throughout the year, but I would say shorter trips, certainly under 45 days. This plan does offer both international and domestic coverage. Similar to our single trip plans for US residents, the domestic cover kicks in when you're at least 100 miles from home. So please keep that in mind. And this plan is specifically available for individual purchase for US travelers up to the age of 69. So it is a really cost-efficient and convenient way to get travel insurance coverage. Really, the more you travel, the more you save. And Sam and the Nomadic Mat team did a really excellent article kind of illustrating exactly that kind of cost savings. If you were to go on multiple trips and get single trip policies, you'll see that by purchasing an annual plan, one plan to cover all of those trips can actually be a really cost efficient way instead of buying multiple single trips. Plus, you have the efficiency there that you don't have to think about it each time. So just to go over the plan summary, this is just at a very high level, some of the benefits that are included. What I would recommend if you're interested in getting deeper into the annual plan is you can check out our website, worldnomads.com. On the homepage, there's the ability to get a quote as a US resident, and you can get a quote for an annual plan. And you can, from the quote page, you can actually see a breakdown of all of the coverages that are offered under the plan. You can get pricing depending on the information you put into the quote. So when you're planning on starting the annual plan, you can also download the policy and read the policy, something that we always recommend if you are going to move forward with purchasing. But just wanted to highlight at a high level here what's included. And it really does map back to what Christina was talking about in that our policies aim to cover your investment, your health as a traveler, as well as your stuff. So we've made sure that with the annual plan, there are those bundled coverages within this plan for travelers. So for instance, with the accident and illness, we're offering up to $100,000 per trip if you were to get sick or injured while you are on trip. Same thing with medical, transport, and repatriation, up to $100,000 per trip. We have coverage for things like natural disasters that could help reimburse or pay for flights, hotels, relocation. We have coverage for your stuff, so stolen or damaged gear. There's coverage up to $2,000 per trip. Note with any of the baggage and gear benefits, there are limits, not just an aggregate limit, which is for all of the coverage offered for that benefit, but also per item, there could be limits there. So an important one to check out in your policy wording. Also delayed baggage. This is something that a lot of us face, whether traveling domestically or internationally. So we made sure to include that one as it is something that comes up, unfortunately, frequently. So this one does offer up to $1,000 per trip. And then we move into some of the benefits for your investment. So something like trip cancellation and trip interruption coverage is included, up to $5,000 per individual coverage term. So I think that's an important distinction to just call out, that some of these benefits exhaust over the coverage term. So a good example of that is your trip cancellation coverage for $5,000. So you have $5,000 for the full year. If you were to file a claim and get paid out for $5,000 in the first 3 months of the policy, then that benefit limit would be exhausted. But then there are other benefits like the accident and illness, $100,000 per trip. That is per trip. So if you take 10 trips throughout the year, that restarts for each trip. So just something important to keep in mind. And again, this is why we encourage people to read through the details of their policy before they purchase. So just like with our single trip policies, we know that a lot of our travelers want coverage for adventure activities. We do cater to an adventurous bunch. So we made sure with the annual plan that we did have similar coverages for adventure activities and experiences while traveling. So with the annual plan, we do offer coverage for over 250 adventure sports and activities. So it ranges from snow, water, air to land sports and even experiences like volunteering and woofing. Some of the most popular activities that we see our travelers participate in are scuba diving, mountain biking, surfing, and bungee jumping. I will note that there are limitations with some of these. So Christina had mentioned, scuba diving to further depths or trekking at higher altitudes. That's an important thing to look at when you have your policy wording. We do have a list of the adventure activities that are covered within each policy. The good news is if you are going to embark on, let's say, higher risk adventure activities, you're going to summit a tall peak, or you're going to do some kind of technical scuba diving. We do have plans like the Explorer plan and the Epic plan that offer a wider range of adventure activity coverage. So if you are interested, you can always supplement with a policy that covers those specific days that you're going to be participating in those adventure activities that are covered by those plans. All right, I'll pass it back to Christina for what we don't cover.
Thank you, host. So what we don't cover, a couple of nuances here. We don't cover evacuation or repatriation if it is not medically necessary. So that benefit is if you are in a situation and the attending physician deems it necessary for you to be evacuated or repatriated, then that is the trigger and the call for you to be able to get that benefit. So we don't cover that, nor do we cover routine health care. So that's that on the medical piece. For domestic travel, if you're traveling within 100 miles from your home, that is not covered. There was a question in the chat there about that. Regardless of your mode of transport, if you are within 100 miles of your home residence, that you're buying your plan associated to, then that is not covered. If you leave your possessions unattended or you misplace them, like you left them in a taxi or you left them at a cafe tabletop, that kind of event is not covered. So there is sort of this speaks to the contract that you have as a traveler, that you agree to take care of your health and your stuff to the best degree possible, and you will do everything you can to avoid and put yourself at that kind of exposure. So that type of behavior is not covered. Depreciation of your goods is not covered. So some people think if their phone gets stolen, their iPhone that's 4 years old, they think the timing is great. They're going to go ahead and make a claim for that 4-year-old iPhone, and that they're going to get the value of a replacement iPhone. That is not the case. You get the value of the phone at the time of that loss. Sports equipment, while it is in use, is not covered. So if it's put into the carrier, the cargo of the plane, and it gets damaged, or other transportation carrier, then that is covered. But if you are tearing up your skis while you're taking on really incredible triple black diamonds, and they get busted, that is not covered. If you travel to a country that has sanctions or there's a government restriction, that is not covered. And part of that is really for your safety. So for example, travel to Cuba, we know is a very popular destination. There are a lot of legitimate and properly licensed operators that do travel to Cuba. But because it is sanctioned, we cannot cover travel to that country, primarily because as a sanctioned country, healthcare providers and the emergency assistance provider cannot send dollars or money to that hospital or provider of a service in Cuba, for example. They're restricted from being able to repay that provider. And so why would we sell a policy for someone to go to Cuba if we are restricted in giving you that service or providing the benefits? So a lot of that is because of your safety and our inability to provide payment to those providers. If you break local laws, that is not covered. So flaunting any kind of local law, regardless of whether it's legal in this country or your home country, if it's not legal there, you are not covered. And this could be very subtle. If you have certain medications that might be prescription here or even over the counter, but they're not permitted in the destination country that you're going to, and it is found on your baggage and you get into a whole world of hurt because of that, that unfortunately is not covered because it is a local law. Whether you intended or not, it would not be covered. There are some special conditions and exclusions. So if you put yourself at risk at climbing a peak, for example, and you need search and rescue, that would not be covered. And even kind of extreme risks that are outside of the bounds of our adventure activity guidelines would not be covered. So I think we have a coverage of altitude of 6,000 meters. If you go above that and you get into a situation, then that would not be covered. We would help you, but the cost of that would not be covered. If there are known events, then it's like buying insurance for your house when it's already on fire. It's the same in travel. If you know something is happening, a volcano has erupted, or there's a hurricane that's named, and then you buy insurance after that event is known, then that unfortunately is not covered. And also if you fail to follow travel warnings, which is similar to government restrictions and also government warnings. So who is insurance best for? So a lot of you are travelers. I'm seeing a lot of great questions in the chat. So you clearly have done a lot of traveling in your respective lives. So it is great for travelers if you're planning, especially this is the annual multi-trip. And also, just to be clear, we have an annual multi-trip or an annual plan in the UK and Europe and Ireland. We're talking specifically today about nuances of the USA plan. So I know that there's a couple of people who are residing in those countries. Just to be clear, if we're talking about benefits or answering specific questions, we're talking about the USA plan. So if you are planning several multiple either domestic trips or international trips throughout the year, Tara spoke about the sort of those day limits, then this is a plan that you would want to consider. So if you're a digital nomad and you're coming in and out of the USA, if you're doing some great weekend trips throughout the year, even domestically, frequent travelers such as yourselves, if you're doing adventure activities, or going on group trips that involve adventure activities, rafting down a river in the USA or overseas, or if you're really going overseas for, chasing a solar eclipse or going to certain concert series in Europe, etc. If you're going for events, it's a great plan. If you are an expat, however, or a traveler who needs health insurance while you're doing that extended trip abroad for routine medical, so if you need a prescription to be filled, or if you're living in a certain country and you have established a residence there, even if you're only there 6 months out of the year and then you're back in the US, that is not covered. So it's not a great plan for you. I really recommend you look at overseas medical healthcare plan versus a travel insurance plan. And unfortunately, with the way that the regulations are in the USA, every state is different. And every state Department of Insurance decides what they want to be able to have their residents be protected for or against. And these states do not allow these residents to have an annual plan. That's Missouri, Montana, New York, or Washington, unfortunately. So that's not us. It's prescribed by the various state departments of insurance. So a little bit about that travel medical plans. There are some options out there that speak to this. And again, because you're deciding what's best for you, they can work for you 100%. However, some of the things that you might want to think about in terms of why are they different. Some of the medical insurance plans that are out there would require you to pay first and then get a reimbursement. Whereas with trip insurance, there is less out-of-pocket costs, especially if you're calling emergency assistance and they're handling, the logistics of getting you that medical attention for a medical emergency. There will be likely less out-of-pocket costs with an annual travel insurance or travel protection plan. Some of the travel medical plans might not include automatically some of the adventure activities that you are going to be participating in. Medical insurance plans, unlikely, and this is what you need to look at if you're looking at those, does it have pre-departure benefits? So if you're here in the US and you're about to go for that extended trip overseas to be a digital nomad, whatnot, then any of the pre-departure benefits might not be offered in those plans. So trip cancellation and optional cancel for any reason may not be something that is available through those medical insurance plans. Trip interruption also, if you are overseas for an extended period of time or you have a medical plan, if you have to interrupt that trip to come home for whatever reason, it could be for your own health or it could be for a death in the family, trip interruption may not be part of that coverage if you need to return home. Any kind of your goods, right? So if you've got your lost or stolen personal items, baggage, passport, gear, sports equipment, those medical plans may not cover that. So look out for that if that's important to you. And then also with a medical plan, there are some that are restricting you to either be out of the country for more than 180 days or have certain day limits. The annual plans often do not have that kind of restriction. They might offer an unlimited in and out of the country rather than those type of minimum days out of country type of restrictions.
All right, thank you. So last here, we're just going to touch on some new features and future plans for World Nomads. So in addition to launching the annual plan last week for US residents, we also launched a new single trip plan called the Epic Plan. And this is the highest tier single trip plan that we offer in the US. It does offer expanded benefits limits and actually the highest benefits limits we've been able to offer US residents. So for example, trip cancellation and trip interruption coverage is offered up to $15,000. It also offers the widest range of coverage for adventure activities that we've offered before. So over 340 activities are covered under that plan. And additionally, we've really like ramped up the benefits that we're offering in the Explorer and Epic plans. So these are two of our single trip plans. The Explorer plan is tried and true. For the past 20 years, we've had the Standard and Explorer. But we've added some new benefits here, including additional trip interruption, which reimburses the cost to remain with your traveling companion if they are hospitalized. So a little bit of the you can you can get paid to stay with your companion. It just gives you a little bit of ease if you do have to stay for an extended period of time. One of the big changes that we're making is adding optional cancel for any reason or CFAR cover as an additional option for the Explore and Epic plans. So this is at an additional cost, and essentially how it works in tandem with the trip cancellation coverage. And under optional CFAR cover, you could be reimbursed for up to 50 or 75% of the trip cost if you were to cancel for a reason that's not necessarily named in your policy. So with trip cancellation, just to go back to what Christina had mentioned earlier, there are specific reasons where you can claim under trip cancellation and get reimbursed. So for instance, if you were about to travel and you were injured to the point that you can no longer travel, your doctor provides you with a note, you would be able to claim under the trip cancellation and be reimbursed for the cost or the investment that you made in that trip. But say you are going on a trip and you're getting a little bit of cold feet. It could be you're seeing a spike in COVID cases in the destination that you're going to, and you just don't feel comfortable. So in that case, if you did purchase the additional cancel for any reason, you would be able to cancel. There are stipulations like you have to cancel at least 2 days in advance of that trip, but you'd be able to be reimbursed for up to 50% under the Explore plan or up to 75% for the Epic plan. So this is something that became very popular after COVID and remains very popular. So just like the annual plan, a question that we get a lot from our customers if we do offer it. So we are excited to roll this one out as it is something that a lot of Americans look for when it comes to travel insurance coverage. We also have Misconnection being rolled into a couple of our plans, which reimburses non-refundable costs or additional transportation costs if you miss your trip departure due to delay. So this is really great for something like if you're going on a cruise, there's always that port of the port that you leave from. So if you were to fly in, say, to Argentina and you're going on an Antarctica cruise, there's always a chance that there could be a hiccup there. So this helps with that potential disruption. Travel inconvenience is a really nice to have. This pays travelers up to $250 per inconvenience that's listed in the policy. So this is an inconvenience that is a bit of a bummer if you come across it in your travels, but it's not going to derail your total trip. So a good example is you go up to the mountains for the weekend and you're planning on spending an afternoon skiing. For whatever reason, the ski resort is closed. Again, you're still able to enjoy your trip and your time in the mountains, but you're not able to enjoy that afternoon skiing that you had planned. So in that case, you could get $250 for that inconvenience of just facing that closure at the ski resort. Same thing with the cruise diversion. This is a common one. A river cruise could be impacted by changing tides. So if that's the case and your cruise is diverted, you're not necessarily on that original path that you may be looking forward to. So again, for that inconvenience, we would pay $250. Pet kennel is another one that we've added, and we know again that a lot of our nomads have pets and they love their pets, their family. So this one will reimburse pet kennel costs at commercial kennels. So think like a Rover app or a pet hotel if you're delayed more than 6 hours coming home. So again, it kind of takes away some of that stress of worrying about your pet and worrying about the additional cost of having to board them for that time. And then lastly, Trip Exchange is a new one that we've added, which reimburses the difference for new travel arrangements and penalty fees if you were to have to rearrange your plans. In addition to some of those new benefits, we've also expanded what are called the non-insurance services. So these sit separately from the benefits, but they're offered on all 4 of our plans that are offered. So this includes the new annual plan. So we've already offered 24/7 emergency assistance that offers you on-trip emergency support in situations where you may need a translator, you may need somebody to get you to the nearest hospital. Whatever the case is, that line is available for our travelers 24/7. Also, Footprint ID is something that already existed in our plans for US residents. So this keeps track of your medical records. So in case of emergency, all of your prescriptions, your doctors, your emergency contacts are in one place. So it's a very kind of seamless process if you are to go to an overseas hospital and get care. So the 2 new ones that we're really excited to roll out are Blue Ribbon bags. And this is a delayed and lost luggage retrieval service. So essentially, if your bag is delayed or lost by the airline, the first step is always to work with the airline to get that claim number from them. But we know that a lot of times our travelers are faced with delays in that the airline doesn't find it. They kind of take their time with it. They're not getting answers when they check in. So after you file that initial claim, you would call Blue Ribbon Bags, give them that claim number, and they have like a 99% rate of being able to track down your bag and expedite it back to you. And this is specifically offered for outbound trips. So as you are flying to your destination, so it helps to kind of prevent any major disruption in terms of, continuing your travel without your bag. And then the last one here is Runway Health. So this one provides access to pre-trip health consultations so that you can get prescriptions and vaccination for common travel needs. So here in the US, sometimes there's a lot of back and forth or waiting periods in terms of being able to get certain vaccinations. You can't easily walk into a CVS or Walgreens and get some of these that are not common for specific destinations. Same things with some of the prescriptions. You may have a waiting period, but this is a really great service in that you would be able to get a free online consultation, and then the provider immediately puts in that request with your local pharmacy, and you can go pick them up. There is a cost when it comes to the vaccination and prescriptions, but the consultation with the provider is free. And just more initiatives to point out that we are going to be rolling out soon. So we're looking to expand the payment types that we accept on our purchase path. So specifically looking to things like mobile wallets, which we know are commonly used with a lot of travelers, especially as they are on trip. We're working on an app, so everything is stored in one place. It should offer a really seamless way to purchase a policy as well as file claims. And of course, also hold a lot of that travel content to keep you kind of inspired and safe and feeling really confident before you take off for your trip. And also looking into streamline claims management. So we know sometimes the claims process can be, it's something that nobody looks forward to, no matter what kind of insurance. So we are continually trying to improve that process to make sure that it is easy. Everybody that is filing a claim knows exactly what they're in for, and there are shorter timeframes in terms of getting responses and getting outcomes. And that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was great. So much good information. And thank you, Christina. I saw you were like answering some of the questions in the chat. There was like a gazillion questions. So I'm just gonna say thanks everyone for like putting your questions in there. And hopefully we'll just dive right in. I'm not sure we'll be able to get to everyone in 15 minutes, but we'll do our best. And yeah, if someone there's also going to be, in case anyone missed it, there's the recording is going to be going out, so you can watch this again. And we will be sending out the slides when we send out the email of the recording. Someone just asked about that. Um, and yeah, Christina, I think you had something. You were raising your hand.
Thank you.
Oh, you can't, can you not oh,
I
you can't
can't,
unmute yourself
I
because
can't
you're a
unmute myself.
participant.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I
That's
forcibly
okay.
muted you along with everyone
Yeah,
else. I'm
no,
so
that's
sorry,
fine.
Christina.
No, that's
Okay.
fine. That's fine. I pointed to my little box, so you got it.
I see. Well, we got it worked out. So
Yeah.
thank you both.
The thank you, and yes, I have been looking at the questions, so thank you everybody for really jumping in and asking these questions. A couple of quick call outs, and then Sam, I'll let you sort of facilitate some of the other ones, but just wanted to be clear on the plans. I think some people had questions on, do you cover travel to Portugal, or you know, what about Portugal? Was one of the streams. As I said, and hopefully clarified, is that we're talking about a USA resident with these plans going out into the world. There are some countries that you can't go to, such as those that are sanctioned. But yes, if you're a USA resident and buying a single trip or the annual trip plan, going to places like Portugal or other parts of Europe, yes, that is covered as a destination. What we don't cover are residents of Portugal or residents of Spain, France, etc. Okay, so I just wanted to really clarify that. So there is no restrictions to where you can go in Europe. One of the other questions I saw was around, Europe allows, the Schengen region allows 90-day trips. Why don't we cover that? We do. We cover it as a single trip plan. If you are interested in an annual plan, then that is a limitation that our underwriting partner has set in terms of the per trip limitation for an annual plan. So yes, we do cover longer than 45 days, but you just have to get a single plan to do that.
And the
Great.
single
Thank
trip
you.
plans offer up to 180 days of coverage.
Okay, great. That is definitely a question I saw come up a bunch of times. People asking like, what if you are on a longer trip? What should they do? So it sounds like a single trip. What if someone is gone for a year, say? I think I saw a couple of people say they were going to go for a gap year. Should they purchase two single trips or would that not work?
Yeah, we do have travelers that purchase two back-to-back 180-day policies.
Cool, cool. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna jump right in. This perfectly segues because I kind of grouped stuff. So while we're talking about purchasing a plan, and Christina, you kind of talked about coverage area. So we're talking specifically about US. This is for US, this plan is for US travelers or residents only right now, or do you cover Canada? Or I guess could you clarify who this plan would cover?
Yes, so these plans are only for USA residents, and note the difference, resident versus citizen. There are plenty of people who are residing in the USA. And so if they are residing here and they want to go overseas, it's a USA resident coverage. And the reason is it's the nuance is important. You buy the plan from the country where you're resident, because if you need to be repatriated, that is the country that you will be sent back home to. So if you are, just arbitrarily pick a French person residing in the US and you have an address and your life is set up here, and you buy a plan as a French resident, which you can't because we don't cover French residents, but let's say you did, and you were traveling around the world, whatever country that might be, and you need to be repatriated and your insurance is going to cover it, because you bought a plan as a French resident, that's where that insurance company will send you back for your continuing medical care. So if you're residing in the USA, regardless of your citizenship, You buy a USA plan because that is where you will come back home to continue your continued medical care. So that's really important. So where you're from and where you reside and what country you buy your plan from is very different from the coverages we offer where you're going to. So these plans are USA residents.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. Could you also clarify like the age limitations? I feel like I've seen like several dozen questions about age. So could you clarify that again?
Yes, so these particular World Nomads plans, which were built in conjunction and in conversation and partnership with our underwriting partner, they are for people who are at the age of purchase 69 and under. And that's the limitation that we have with our underwriting partner. However, we really believe that, of course, anybody at any age should travel and should have coverage. So what we've offered instead is an option through our website, but you've got to, either you can go directly or get to the link on our website, is what we call the Silver Nomads. And I shared the link in the chat there. And from there, you can then get bounced over to our partner who offers coverages for the 70 and up. It's not our plan. It's a completely different company that does the adjudication of the claim and helps you with the assistance, but it's a partner company of who does our underwriting. So we know that the emergency assistance is handled by Generali, as well as Generali handling our emergency assistance. So we do make that available, but it's not our plan. It's not a World Nomads plan.
Gotcha. Thank you. Also, while we're talking about coverage, there's also, could you clarify more the 45-day limit? Like say if someone's on a year-long trip. I know you already mentioned that they could buy two policies, two single per trip policies, but how does the 45-day limit work? Do you have to come back to your home country? Like, do you have to be back for a certain period of time? Like, how does that work with the annual plan?
Yeah,
Sorry if you
no,
also answered this already,
no,
but
no, no. That's actually a really good question. And I can confirm that you do not necessarily have to come back home in between trips. So a trip is defined by, I guess, the bookings that you have. So if you are going, you could go on two trips that are consecutive in two different destinations. So say you're spending 45 days in Portugal and 45 days in Spain, as long as you are able to prove that you have the bookings for both of those trips, then that would be okay under the annual plan. So you wouldn't necessarily need to spend 45 days in Portugal, go back home, reset, fly to Spain, 45 days there, go back. So when you file a claim, they will ask for the proof of your bookings per trip, but you don't need to necessarily go back home in between trips.
gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying that. Okay, let's see here. So people are asking again while we're on coverage, what about if you have if you've say booked like a tour, do you get, I think I saw you answer this one, Christina, but just in case anyone else had that question as well, does that cover, do you cover someone going on an organized tour or cruises or like anything apart from say solely I'm going by myself somewhere, how does that work?
Yeah, no, that is absolutely covered. Many operators require the traveler that is going on a group trip to have insurance. Some operators work with a partner and they offer that partner's plan. Some operators, or it's included in the trip cost. Some operators want to keep a very clean distance between the services and the experiences they're offering, and they just say, you need insurance for this trip, but go get your own, figure it out yourselves kind of thing. And then you have some operators who say, look, get your own insurance, but here are the three companies that we would point you to. Again, operators don't want to be prescriptive in who you buy an insurance plan from because everybody's different and the operator doesn't want to take the accountability in terms of, well, we recommended that company's plan and in fact, it might not be a good fit. And so they want to stay away from that type of liability and, disgruntled customers to say, but you told me to buy that plan. So they'd rather just say, here's some providers that you should look into, go and figure it out yourself. So yes, you're covered if you do participate in a group organized tour.
Or cruise, right? That's also part of, that's a similar, yeah. Okay, great, great, great. Cool. Okay. Oh my gosh, we're getting towards the end, and I'm just gonna say right now, I'm sure we're not gonna get to everyone. I'm trying. If you, I see people are having like pretty specific questions. So I'm gonna try to just cover the more general ones. And if you have specific questions, I'm sure you can reach out to Tara or Christina and they can answer. Or if you guys, do you guys have like as people who assist in buying plans, like a chat function or something like that? Like where could people go if they have like more specific questions about their situation before we continue with questions?
Yeah, we can absolutely follow up with that information, maybe when we send out the recording. We work with a third-party administrator called TripMate, who helps us with our customer service, claims management, and so they have a really great team that knows the products inside and out. So they're available over the phone or by email. So whatever the preference is, we can send information so that you can reach out.
Okay, perfect. Great. So moving on a little bit, we had a few questions about credit card coverage. People after my own heart. So how does this differ from, I mean, I kind of know and I answered it a bit, but I'd love if you guys could clarify how World Nomads differs from your standard like premium credit card insurance. And also tagging on to that, if you book your flights or hotels with points and miles, do you get coverage for that? Does it affect coverage at all?
Uh, we're gonna have to get back to you on that because I know there is a nuance that's associated with that type of purchase of a trip and carriage. So I don't want to misspeak on it unless Terry, you have the answer at hand. But I know that that is something that is in our frequently asked questions, I believe, but I don't want to misquote on that one.
Yeah, and I can answer generally the question about I guess our coverage versus credit card coverage. And it's a tough one. I wouldn't say that our team has gone through the exercise of pulling every single credit card travel insurance product and comparing it side by side to ours. I don't know that we ever will. But we have done a deep dive to kind of understand like what are some of the trends with some of like the top travel cards and the travel insurance that they offer. And while yes, I have to say like they have become more comprehensive over time, there are still some exclusions to look out for. So for us, you know, we really have this niche in the market by being able to offer coverage for such an extensive range of adventure activities, and some of these like higher risk activities. So that's something that is different. A lot of these credit cards will not offer coverage if you were to get injured. Even it could be something as simple as hiking, that you think that should be covered. It might not be covered. So something to kind of keep in mind. Additionally, in some cases with these credit cards, you do have to have 100% of your travel booked or your trip booked with that credit card in order for the coverage to be in place. So just another kind of stipulation to look for. So I would recommend, I mean, with any case, you know, just understanding what's covered, what's not covered. I do believe some of these credit cards are now offering not just trip cancellation, which was kind of like the starting point, being able to offer trip cancellation to those customers. They've now added things like coverage for your stuff, so for baggage, baggage delay, as well as emergency medical. But again, just kind of getting back to the basics, understanding what those limits are. Are the benefits limits high enough, even with trip cancellation? Is it going to give you the coverage that you need depending on the investment that you made on that trip? Same thing for something like emergency evacuation. If you are going to a remote destination, even if you're taking a cruise and you're going to be out in the water, you know, look at what the evacuation could be in case something goes wrong, because that can get quite costly.
Yeah, I just thank you for that. We have an article on credit cards and travel insurance. So if people want to check that out on the credit card side of things, it's definitely like Tara said, that adventure activities are like not going to be covered. I can guarantee it. Like medical is rarely covered by credit cards. So I personally, even though I have like a bunch of credit cards and I'm an avid points and miles person, I still purchase travel insurance because of the medical reasons. And it's just such a small cost to, you know, have that peace of mind. So yeah. as someone who travels a lot, and I know Matt does the same thing. So there you have it. Okay, we're already at 1 o'clock. Thanks so much, Christina, for answering as many questions as you have in the chat. Really appreciate that. I'm gonna try to pick one more question because I know everyone has somewhere to be. It's the middle of the day in at least the East Coast. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but just a reminder that there will be a replay. We'll send out a ton of resources after. We'll send out the presentation, and this conversation doesn't end here. I know it's a big topic, and Christina and Tara share a ton of information, and people have tons of questions, which is awesome. So let me and shut up and pick one more question to ask. Let's see here. We covered the 45 days. Um, okay, this is a good one. Uh, could you elaborate a little bit more on emergency assistance? What exactly is a couple of people were asking about that. How exactly does it work? What do they help you with, the emergency assistance team? What do they do assist, and what don't they assist with?
Yeah, so wide range of things. So emergency, it's in the word. So if you are in an emergency situation, they will help facilitate getting you to that hospital. They'll work with the attending physician on your case and make sure that you're being monitored, and then also making the determinations as to whether you should be coming home. And if so, how do you get home? Do you have an escort? Do you get rebooked on a flight that requires you to fly flat? Or do you have to be medically evacuated to a hospital that would be in a better position to deal with your situation? So if you're going in remote places, sometimes we do have cases where someone's out on safari and their local hospital in Nairobi might not be able to really handle their situation. They have to get evac over to a hospital in Johannesburg, for example, and that's something that happened. They also help you with assistance, right? Emergency and assistance. So if you are in a situation where your flight is delayed, they won't necessarily do the rebooking for you. That's a concierge service. So someone like Amex Platinum or whatever the highest level is, they might help you with those concierge services. But they would at least start to do a case for you to sort of understand, like, yep, we've got a record that this has happened, and we have a case open for you. They will help you with sort of identifying local airport hotels, if you have to stay in a nearby hotel, if the airline isn't giving you that type of coverage. Again, it depends on the situation as to whether an airline covers you and gives you compensation, or whether you're having to navigate things on your own. They're there to sort of help you with your options. And then you can go ahead and have those options sorted. If you're in a country overseas and you need a companion to come to your bedside, then they will help, and it's covered, then they will help facilitate that type of arrangement as well. So it will vary on the situation, what they cover and what they don't cover in terms of assistance. Lost bags, I think we already covered. So the whole litany of things that our website will have information on in terms of the types of coverages that you can expect and the details of that. So take a look at our website.
Great. Yeah, and I'll send along all those links, and there's way more information on the website, and we'll share around everything. This is a complex topic, I know. So thank you again, Christina and Tara, for sharing all of that information. And that, like, I know the annual plan is really exciting because, like I mentioned, it's something people always ask about. So yeah, this is, like I said, not the end of the conversation. It's just the end of this hour webinar. We're a little bit over. So thanks again to everyone for coming and for asking all of your great questions. Apologies again that we didn't get to everyone, but yeah, we will be sure to send along more researchers and contact so that you can get those questions answered. I think that's about it. Anything else that you want to, last words, guys?
Just
No,
thank you for
just
the
thank you so much for your
opportunity.
time. Yeah,
Awesome.
we really
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
so much. Yeah, this is great. It was great. All right. Yeah, I'll just turn off the recording and say bye to everyone, and hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Thanks,
everybody. Happy
everyone. Have a good
travel.